Hey everyone, in this video we'll learn about how to solve more complex quadratic equations. So let's go through an example together. Let's say we had 2x squared plus 14x plus 12 equals 0. And as you can see, we already have it in our form that we want. We have it in ax squared plus bx, plus bx plus c equals 0 form. We already have it in the form that we want. But what makes this a little more complex than in the previous video is that our a is not 1. A is not 1. A is actually equal to 2, as you could see. Our a equals 2. So our a equals 2. So the methods that we used in the previous video will not apply here. We cannot just simply set up two sets of parentheses and find m and n. So plus m and then plus n. We cannot do this anymore. So what can we do in this case? Well, there are a couple of routes. What we can do, since a is not equal to 1, we can make a equal to 1. And how we can do that is, okay, what is a currently? A is 2. Good, so let's divide both sides by 2. Both sides of the equal sign by 2. Divide by 2 and divide by 2. Now, what does dividing this entire polynomial by 2 do? It divides each term by 2. So, what's 2x squared divided by 2? That is simply x squared. Since 2 divided by 2 is 1, that cancels out the 2. What is 14x divided by 2? 14 divided by 2 is 7, so positive 7. And then we bring over the x, so 14x divided by 2 is 7x. And now what is 12 divided by 2? 12 divided by 2 is 6, equals 0. And there we go. Now we have a quadratic equation where a equals 1. See, there's no number in front of the x squared, so that's 1 now. A is 1. And then we can go ahead and find two numbers, m and n, so plus m and plus n, where m times n equals 6, and m plus n equals 7. And just to go through this quickly, the factors of 6 times 1 equals 6, so 6 times 1 equals 6, and 6 plus 1 equals 7. So we can use 6 and 1 as m and n. So we can factor this by going to x plus 6 times x plus 1 equals 0. We can break this up. X plus 6 equals 0. X plus 1 equals 0. And then solve for x on both sides. So subtract 6, subtract 6, subtract 1, subtract 1. And we have x equals negative 6 and x equals negative 1. And those are our solutions for x. So basically, whenever you have a quadratic equation where a does not equal 1, you can simply just divide both sides by 1 or by a. So in this case, a was 2. So you can divide both sides of the equation by 2, right here and right here. And then that should get you to a form where a does equal 1. And you can go ahead and factor it like normal. Now, let's go through another method. Let's say we had this quadratic equation. Let's say we had a quadratic equation 4x squared plus 7x plus 3 equals 0. So we could also go the route of dividing both sides by 4 and then figuring out m and n in order to factor it. But we can actually also factor from this quadratic right here. And we can factor it by grouping. So factoring by grouping is something that was taught in a previous video, but what you want to do is we have a 4x squared here, and we have a 7x. So 4x squared and 7x, the only greatest common factor they have is x. If you look at the coefficients 4 and 7, there are no common factors there between 4 and 7. But what is 7x? Let's actually rewrite this, the whole thing. So 4x, 7x is really just 4x plus 3x. So if we break 7x down to 4x plus 3x, and then we'll drop down everything else, plus 3 equals 0. Now we can factor this, and we can factor this. What is the greatest common factor of just these two terms, 4x squared and 4x? That is 4x, and then we'll set up the parentheses, and then divide each term by 4x. So what is 4x squared divided by 4x? What is 4x divided by 4x? So 4x squared divided by 4x is simply x, because the 4's would cancel out, and one of the x's would cancel out, so that just leaves x. And what's 4x divided by 4x? Anything divided by itself is 1, so plus 1. So we factor that, and let's go ahead and factor this. So 3x and 3, the greatest common factor is 3. And we'll divide both of these terms by 3. 3x divided by 3 is x, plus 3 divided by 3 is 1, equals 0. And now, if you look at both of these terms, you treat these all as terms, they have a common factor of x plus 1. So we can actually factor out this x plus 1. X plus 1 times, and what are we left with here? 4x plus 3. 4x plus 3 equals 0. Good, so we've been able to factor this into two binomials, x plus 1 times 4x plus 3. And now we can do the same thing here. We can separate this into two separate linear equations. So over here we have x plus 1 equals 0. And over here we have 4x plus 3 equals 0. And we can solve for x in both of them. So x plus 1 equals 0, just subtract 1. Therefore, x equals negative 1. So that's one of our answers. X is negative 1. We'll do the same thing here. So to isolate x, first we'll subtract 3 on both sides. We have 4x equals negative 3. And then to solve for x, we'll divide both sides by 4. And then we have x equals negative 3/4. So those are our two answers for x. And that is how we solve more complicated quadratic equations where a is not always equal to 1. We can either divide both sides by whatever a is to get the a term equal to 1, which we did in our first example. Or we can do what we did in this example, where we can factor the quadratic by grouping. So those are the two methods. I hope this video helps, and please let me know if you have any questions down in the comments below, and thank you for watching.